Good morning, students. This is Arvind Dobriyal, and you all are welcome to the e-learning portal of Cambridge International School, Daswa. We are reading the supplementary reader, that is Moments. So the chapter that we will read today is Weathering the Storm in Arsama, written by Harsh Mander. Before reading the chapter, let's have a quick recap of the Happy Prince that we have discussed in our previous video. There stood a statue of the Happy Prince on a tall column in the city. He was gilded all over. He had two bright sapphires for eyes. A large ruby glowed on his sword hilt. A little swallow came and sat on the statue. He decided to spend the night on it. But as he was going to sleep, a large drop of water fell on it. The swallow was amazed. There was no cloud, yet it rained. The second drop of water made the swallow decide to fly off. The third drop of water made him to look at the statue. It was weeping. The statue told the little swallow that he was Happy Prince. The Happy Prince told the swallow that there lived a woman far away. She was a seamstress. She was embroidering flowers on a satin gown of Queen's maid of honor. The maid was to wear it at the next court ball. The Happy Prince asked the swallow to pick the ruby from his sword hilt and give it to the woman. First, the little swallow said that his friends had gone to Egypt and he was waited for in Egypt. But the Happy Prince requested him to stay one night. The swallow agreed. He picked up the ruby and flew to the woman's house. He put the ruby near the woman's thimble. The swallow flew back to the Happy Prince. He felt warmer though it was cold. The Happy Prince told him that it was because he had done a good act. The swallow wanted to go to Egypt, but the Happy Prince told him to stay there one more night. He told the swallow that he saw a playwright in a little room. He was trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he was too cold to write. He was hungry also. He asked the swallow to pluck one sapphire from his eyes and give it to the playwright. The playwright saw the sapphire. He was happy. Now he hoped to finish the play. The swallow went to the Happy Prince. He told him that he had come to bid him goodbye. But the Happy Prince asked him to stay one more night. The prince told the swallow that there was a little match girl in a square below. All the matches had fallen in the gutter. Her father would beat her if she did not bring home some money. She was crying. He asked the little swallow to pluck out the sapphire from his other eye and give it to that girl. The swallow flew back to the Happy Prince. He told the prince that he would stay with him as he had gone blind. The Happy Prince asked him to fly over the city and tell him what he saw. He also told the little swallow that most marvelous thing was human suffering, and human misery was the greatest mystery. The swallow flew over the city. He saw hungry children. He also saw many poor people. The Happy Prince asked him to take leaf after leaf of the fine gold over his body and give it to them. The poor now laughed and children played. Then there came snow and then frost. Everything looked white. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he did not leave the Happy Prince. However, he could no longer keep himself alive. He at last knew that he was going to die. The swallow asked the prince to let him kiss his hand. The prince told him that he was happy that he was going to Egypt. So he told him to kiss him on his lips. But the little swallow told him that he was going to the house of death. At that moment, there appeared a crack inside the statue. the heart of the happy prince broke into two pieces. The dead swallow lay at its feet. The next morning, the mayor and the town councillors came that way. They looked at the statue. They decided that the happy prince was no longer beautiful, so he was no longer useful. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. But the broken heart did not melt. It was thrown away. God asked one of his angels to bring him the two most precious things in the city. The angel brought him the leaden heart of the happy prince and the dead bird. God told that in the garden of paradise the little bird would sing forever and the happy prince would praise him forever in his city of gold. After the quick recap of the happy prince, let's read the story. First of all, I would like to tell you something about the author. Hersh Mender was born on 17th of April in 1955 in Shillong. He is an Indian author, columnist, researcher, teacher, and social activist who works with survivors of mass violence and hunger, as well as homeless persons and street children. He is the director of Center for Equity Studies, a research organization based in New Delhi. He also served as a special commissioner to the Supreme Court of India in the Right to Food campaign and was a member of the National Advisory Council of the Government of India. He formerly worked in the Indian Administrative Service, serving in the predominantly tribal states of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh for almost 2 decades. After Gujarat riots, Mandir left the service in 2002 and started social activism. He is a founding member of the National Campaign for the People's Right to Information. He was appointed a member of India's National Advisory Council by the Council President Sonia Gandhi in June 2010. Hersh Mender teaches courses on poverty and governance at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and St. Stephen College, Delhi. Among his awards are the Rajiv Gandhi National Sadbhavana Award for Peace Work, the M.A. Thomas National Human Rights Award in 2002, the South Asian Minority Lawyer Harmony Award in 2012, and the Chishti Harmony Award in 2012. Now, the introduction to the lesson. The story gives an account of the storm that hit the coastal town of Arsama in Odisha state in the year 1999. A young boy, Prashant, faced the fury of the storm and reached his village. The details of how he worked hard to help the villager overcome the devastation caused by the storm inspire us to have courage and a positive approach towards life. Now, the explanation part of the story. The author says that Prashant was a native of a village in the coastal state of Odisha. On 27th of October 1999, he was on a visit to a friend in Arsama, which is a small town in Odisha and a block headquarters in Jagatpura district. His village was at a distance of 18 kilometers from Arsama. He had lost his mother 7 years ago. That day, a storm gathered in the evening. Furious wind accompanied by continuous rain lashed the place. Screams could be heard as trees got uprooted and destroyed the houses as they fell on them. The water flowed with gush and swept away houses that came in its way. There was neck-deep water in his friend's house. Since his house was a pakka house, it was able to resist the strong winds which blew at the speed of 350 kilometers per hour. His friend's family was terrorized because in the middle of the night, trees had fallen on the house, damaging the roof and walls of the building. The storm continued for the next 1.5 days, although the wind had slowed down. To escape the rising level of water, Prashant, along with his friend and family, took shelter on the roof of the house. As the day dawned, Prashant saw the destruction caused by the super cyclone. As far as Prashant could see, he saw a cover of muddy brown water. There were remains of scattered houses surrounded by the water. Dead bodies of animals and human beings floated in the water. Huge trees had fallen and were floating around. Two coconut trees had fallen on the roof of their house. Initially, they thought that the trees had damaged the roof and walls of the house, but later they realized that this proved to be beneficial for them. As they were trapped in the house, they ate the raw coconut from these trees and saved themselves from dying due to starvation. They spent the next 2 days on the rooftop. Everyone was so scared that they sat together in a group. It was very cold and the continuous rain washed away Prashant's tear. He was worried about his family members. Maybe he could have lost another family member and would be in grief over the loss of a loved one once again. This thought worried Prashant. The rain stopped after 2 days. It seemed to Prashant that the 2 days' time was as long as the duration of 2 years. This shows that it was very difficult for him to pass the time as the worry about his family's well being worried him. The rain had stopped and the water was reducing gradually. Although it was dangerous to go out, he did not want to waste any more time and left to find out his family. His friend's family requested Prashant to stay, but he left. With the help of a long stick, Prashant started the 18-kilometer long journey back home. As he passed through the flood water, the journey got inscribed in his mind forever. He had to use the stick to guide him and find the path where the water was shallow. At some places, the water was waist deep and his pace slowed down. At some places, he lost a track of the road and had to swim and save himself from drowning. After some time, he was relieved as he got the company of two friends who, along with their uncle, were returning to their village. All of them proceeded together. As the group proceeded, they got to see horrible scenes. They had to push dead bodies of human beings and animals which were being swept around with the current of water. As they crossed villages, not even a single house was seen. As Prashant's fear grew, he wept loudly. He was sure that his family members would not have survived the disaster. When Prashant reached his village, Kalikuda, he became numb on seeing the remains of the house. Their belongings were scattered in the water and some things hung on the branches of the trees, just above the flood water. He decided to look his family at the shelter set up by the Red Cross Society. At the Red Cross shelter, he saw his maternal grandmother. She appeared weak but was glad to see that Prashant was alive. She rushed to him with her arm open and her eyes full of tears. It was a miracle for her as the family had thought that Prashant would not have survived the storm. As Prashant's family came to know that he had come, they gathered around him and hugged him in relief. Prashant saw that everyone was worried and injured. He met his siblings, uncles, and aunts. The next morning, Prashant realized that he had to get over his emotion and take charge of the situation. The huge crowd of around 2,500 people in the shelter were full of sadness as they had lost everything in the storm. 86 people had been killed by the super cyclone. They had been at the shelter for the last 4 days. They had been eating raw coconut, but now these were insufficient for the large number of people. Prashant, who was very young at the age of 19, decided to lead the crowd of distraught villagers. He formed a group of villagers, including the elders and the youth. They planned to force the local merchant to give them the stock of grains and rice to feed the people. The group succeeded and swam through the floods to get food for the crowd. No one was bothered by the fact that the rice was getting rotten because they were starved and were ready to eat even the rotting rice. The branches of broken trees were used to kindle a fire. As they were wet, so burning a fire was a difficult task. It was a slow fire, but they managed to cook the rice on it. The survivors ate a meal after 4 days. The second task of the group was to clean the shelter. They removed garbage, dead bodies, and tended the injured. On the fifth day, a military helicopter flew over the shelter and dropped some food parcels. Then it did not return. The youth task force gathered empty utensils from the shelter. Then they deputed the children to lie in the sand left by the waters around the shelter with these utensils on their stomachs to communicate to the passing helicopters that they were hungry. The message got through, and after that, the helicopter made regular rounds of the shelter, airdropping food and other basic needs. A large number of children had been orphaned in the super cyclone. Prashant put them together under a polythene sheet. The women in the shelter were deployed to look after the children, and the men arranged food for everyone. The sadness of the children and women in the shelter was growing with each passing day. Prashant requested to work in the NGO called Food for Work. In order to keep the children busy, he organized sports events for them. He took help of other volunteers to help the widows and orphans to return to normal lives. The government had proposed to set up separate institutions for widows and orphans, but this proposal was successfully rejected by Prashant. He felt that these separate institutions will neither help the orphaned children nor would they be beneficial for the widows. These volunteers wanted to settle the orphan children and widows in foster families where they would get love and security. After 6 months of the disaster, Prashant has come out of the grief of losing his mother because he was engrossed in helping others that he forgot his pain. All the widows and orphans looked up to him in their time of grief, and so he learned to come out of his gloom and smile. Now, dear students, I am going to conclude what we have read today. We read that Prashant went to his friend's house in Arsama on 27th of October 1999. It was 7 years after his mother's death. In the morning, heavy and continuous rain filled the darkness. Trees were uprooted, the waters entered his friend's house, the speed of wind was 350 km per hour. Everything was destroyed there. The scene of destruction was horrible. Prashant and his friend's family had taken refuge on the roof. Prashant won't forget the horrible scene that he saw. He was greatly shocked to see a huge sheet of water all over. Two coconut trees had fallen on the house of Prashant's friend. Its tender coconut kept them alive for several days. For a couple of days, Prashant sat huddled on the rooftop with his friend's family. They were nearly frozen in cold wind. Prashant thought of his family and he decided to go. He then started on his 18-kilometer journey to his village. The flood waters were swollen. Prashant waded through water. On the way, he found two friends of his uncle. They were also returning home. They had to push away many floating dead bodies of human beings and animals to move ahead. Finally, Prashant reached his village Kalikuda. The roof was the only thing that was left of his house. So he went to the Red Cross shelter to look for his family there. He saw his maternal grandmother there. It was a miracle for them to see Prashant alive. Prashant decided to assess the damage and the danger awaiting the survivor. All the houses in the village had been washed away. Prashant organized a group of youths of the village. He pressurized the merchant to give them some rice. On the fifth day, a military helicopter dropped food, but it did not return. The group deputed the children to lie there. They had the empty utensils on their stomach. It was to communicate to the passing helicopters that they were hungry, and finally they got food through airdropping. Prashant became a savior. He brought their orphaned children and made a shelter for them. He asked the women to look after them. But he soon found that women and children were sinking deeper and deeper in their grief. He made them join the Food for Work program. It was started by an NGO. 6 months passed soon after the super cyclone. Prashant now thought about himself. Earlier, he had no time to bother about his own pain. The widows and the orphaned children of the village thought of only Prashant in their hours of grief. Now, on the basis of your understanding the chapter, there are some questions for you. Hope you will do all these questions by yourself. So, till the next class we meet, take care of yourself and do studies.